Welcome to the Build a Lifestyle podcast, where we're going to talk about building your lifestyle. We're going to talk about money, family, relationships, health and fitness, spiritual and self-development, and experience. What are you doing for fun? What are we doing to experience this life that we're here to do? So welcome to the show. I'm your host, Michael Burns. Let's go. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Build a Lifestyle podcast. I'm your host, Michael Burns. Welcome to the show. So we're kind of relaunching the podcast, really. So I started Freedom Lifestyle Experience in December of 2021. This is episode 20 that we're shooting right now. But the first, I had this through my spiritual work and a lot of stuff that I've done. I've just kind of been feeling this pulling and this calling to the world needs more examples and more leaders. And that's one thing that I've really been getting from a lot of my mentors, Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, Grant Cardone, Sean Whalen, Albert Preciado, Mark Evans, a lot of these guys that are, mentors to me, coaches to me. I'm in their groups. I have relationships with them. And, that's just something that we need more of. And really this came to me in COVID when everything was happening and just seeing how broken people were and how weak people were, how fucking mentally weak people were, and just no guide and no direction. So that's really when I started doing my social media, decided I want to start a podcast. So we launched that last year. But really the whole thing is around people need an example of what something looks like. So I spend a tremendous amount and invest a tremendous amount of time and energy, resources, money, traveling, to do everything that I've got to where I'm at in my life with, mentors and coaches, masterminds, just all these different things. I've been in business since I was 19 years old. I had a $2 million sales quota and really started kicking ass and doing well in inside sales. And then I moved on to doing outside sales, and I was selling trees and shrubs all over pretty much Western North America, including Canada. Then I moved to Utah in 2009, got into real estate. Did my first real estate deal in 2012, and fast forward to where we're at today, real estate, mortgages, investments, all the stuff. And as I've been on this journey, self-development's been a really big part of that, whether it's starting with my first book that I read back when I was doing inside sales and I was 19 years old. And I read, that's when I had a first mentor, and I really kind of got my first self-development book going too. So it was Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And I had a guy who was my mentor. Literally, that was his title at the company too. Like, I was under his wing. His name was Ken Dykes. And Ken had put $2 million. He put $2 million. Well, we're on video now, so you guys can see me. But he wrote $2 million on, printed it out big on a computer paper, and he put it on the outside of my cubicle. And then also, within a week or two later, he got me this book, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And I rolled in, and I was like, hey, what's this $2 million thing all about? And he's like, you're going to sell $2 million this year. I believe you. I believe in you. You can do it. And this dude believed in me more than I believed in me. But I ended up selling $2.1 million or $2.2 million that year on the phone, set a company sales record, was 19, 20 years old when I did that. Everyone else was in their 30s. So that was a really eye-opening experience to me. A couple of things. Number one, self-development and reading this book, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. I had grown up in an awesome environment. My parents owned a business, but they didn't do self-development. They weren't reading books or going to seminars or having coaches or mentors or mastermind groups or any of that shit. That's just not what it was. It was just we grinded and we hustled, and my dad had this business that he had built, landscape, and we pretty much sold trees. It was a nursery, garden center. So I grew up in that environment, and work ethic and the value of a dollar and understanding relationships and your name and your word was all there. I couldn't have asked for a better raising, and I couldn't have asked for a better example in my mom and my dad of what work ethic and what's possible looks like. But there was a whole bunch of other shit missing too. So I had this really cool foundation of work ethic and all of that. And that's, what's always been my thing. And all the way through today, work ethics and being resilient are my top two traits. But as I've gone along this journey, I've invested heavily in self-development, and so it was the next book, and then a CD course, and then learning about sales, and then going to the local real estate investor association in Salt Lake and joining that group, and then going to a Tom Hopkins sales seminar for like $500 in Las Vegas, to Grant Cardone's 10X event in Miami, and just on and on and on, joining Arete Syndicate, joining Mark Evans DM Fam. So I have, 10 to 12 years now that of business experience, but also like all of this self-development that I've done and all of the things that I've learned from my coaches and my mentors, and constantly trying to put myself in a room and around people who are doing bigger and better things than me, and just trying to fast track and grow that. So that's what I'm bringing to the podcast, is pretty much I want to share everything that I've learned the hard way primarily, but all the shit that I've learned, and hopefully that's going to help the me that was coming up and on the way, because I was always looking for that next mentor. I was always looking for that podcast, that book. I was just always looking for like, what's next? More information. How can I do more? How can I get better? And that's what I've really started to recognize, is the world needs more examples. So I got a long way to go, and I've got examples and mentors and coaches and people that I look up to significantly. So like I said, I'm hoping that I could be that and just provide value to whoever is going to listen to this show. And the more that I've done that, I'm doing some speaking now and coaching people, and I just really feel a strong draw to share what I've learned and really try to create a situation. Like, we're having meetups here in Salt Lake. I just want to create an environment for people to plug into that's positive, because there's so much negative bullshit in this world. And like I said, a lot of this started for me in COVID, when I saw how mentally broken people were, and just how it just took a little bit of rocking the boat to just totally affect people's lives. And it doesn't have to be that way. So that's why I started this podcast. And for me, as I've been going through everything, lifestyle is our brand. Lifestyle lending, lifestyle realty, build a lifestyle podcast. And, along the way at first it was all about money, because when you don't have money and you're in business, you think that it's all about money. Once I have the money, and it's like, once I have the money, then I can focus on the relationships, or then I can focus on health and fitness, or whatever. We think money is going to solve all of our problems and things are going to be different. Well, I got some money, and then I realized I'm still fat and out of shape. I have a shitty fucking marriage that's just always on the rocks. Like, I've always had good friends and done a good job with my environment, but like, the point that I'm making is, if you have the money, that doesn't really matter if you don't have the relationships, or you don't have the family situation dialed in, or you're not happy. Like, are you spiritually broken? Like, I, was making really good money, but I didn't even have a spiritual foundation to stand on. And then I realized, like, I'm looking for, like, my self-worth is based on my production. Growing up, I was always shorter, I was smaller, I was fat, I got teased for being chubby, I had to work harder, and I was super competitive. I played sports, hockey year-round growing up. I was really into golf, really into baseball, but I had to practice harder, and I had to have better skills because I was smaller. I had a disadvantage, and that kind of like, I got this chip on my shoulder growing up with that. So that's been this thing where I developed my self-worth was based off of production. So, if I scored more goals, or I was better in hockey than everyone else, then that made me feel good about myself. So I got my self-worth from production. Like, I was really good at baseball, starting shortstop on the all-star teams, but I couldn't hit very well. But everything that I was always doing for my self-worth from the time I can remember being a little kid was always based on production. So then I get into the business world, and it's like everything's based on production. So production to me is money, right? How many deals can I produce? What kind of money can I produce? And that's just a lonely journey, and it's a dead end road, because you're going to end up getting the money, and then you're going to realize you're still there with you, and you're still going to be broken inside because you haven't done the work on yourself. Like, I was doing all this self-development work and sales and negotiating and mindset and all of that stuff, but I hadn't been working on me and doing my work and figuring out what's going on with Michael. Like, what type of programming and thoughts and ideas and emotions am I carrying around that actually don't serve me? They're getting in the way of all this shit that I'm doing. I'm doing all this productive things, and I'm learning all these things, but I'm still showing up with the same old version of me with limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs, and that got in the way. So all of this, bringing it back to this lifestyle thing, and people talk about balance. I don't really like the word balance. I think that's used in as a cop out in today's society, as, oh, you need balance. Like, it's permission to be a bitch and just not go do it. So I call them priorities. Like, your priorities are your priorities. But in life, or a lifestyle, in my opinion, in my experience, there's kind of 6 different things that I like to focus on for me personally. That, certain things I'm going to want more of others, but at the end of the day, like I need these 6 things in some capacity to be whole and to be fulfilled, because you can be fulfilled in one area, but if you're low in another area, you're not going to be fulfilled. So what are those things? And we've been over it on the show before, but the first one's money, business, finance, career, all of the things that fall under that. Like, it's super important. Money, you have to have money. Like, life requires money. Like, everything in life requires money, but also not only the actual like money to pay for bills, but like, what are you doing in your career? What are you doing in your business? What are you doing that is the productive side of you? Because as people, we're here to create. Like, if you're not creating, you're going to feel like dead inside. Like, we're here to create and do stuff and grow and build. So we're not growing, you're not going to be happy. So what are you doing to grow in this area? So money's a big thing. I'm a real estate guy, real estate investor, real estate broker, mortgage lender. We've got a rental portfolio. We lend hard money, investing in businesses now, cryptocurrency. So money's a big thing. And I'm still that production that I talked about. Like, I want to make a lot of money. I want to feel good. I want to produce. I want to do those things. So money's a big one. But the second one is family. Like, what's your family and your home life look like? We'll just talk about it because it's no secret, but I'm going through a divorce right now. And if it's like not been cool, it's not been fun. I had my money right, had health and fitness kind of right, spiritual stuff, but the relationship sucked and it wasn't good, or it was always rocky, So like, you got to have your family situation. And that's not only the home life and the relationship that you have at home, whether you have a wife, kids, boyfriend, girlfriend, but also your family in general. Like, I'm super close with my family, my mom, my dad, brothers, sisters, my, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, my nephews, all of that stuff matters too. So who cares if you're sitting there making all the money, but like, you have a shitty relationship with your family, or you don't have like those intimate relationships in general. Bucket number 3 is relationships, or your sphere of influence. Like, who are you hanging out with? Who are the people outside of your family that you're spending time with? Like, that's a huge part of the happiness that we experience, is the interaction with the people that we have in our lives. But it's like, are those, and we'll talk about this later too, but those relationships are going to make or break you. Like, you need to have people in your life who inspire you and support you and have your back and want to push you and all of the different things. So like, in your relationships, people are either assets or liabilities, and you really got to look at that. You want relationships that are, full of assets. But guess what? Until you show up as an asset, and until you show up in a relationship and you're showing up first, like, how can you expect to have these strong relationships? And that's one of the things I'm strongest and best at, is the relationship building in my network. It's always been really important to me, and it will serve you. Like, no matter what you're doing in life and business, it's going to involve other people. So the quality of your relationships is really the quality of your life. 4th bucket is health and fitness. Like, if you like, our body, we get one of them. So like, either you're going to take care of it or you're not, but also your brain. So health, like your spiritual health, like your mental health, your physical health, and then the spiritual side too. What does your health look like in your health and fitness? I've been going to the gym for probably 11 or 12 years for real, like consistently. And I was still 40 pounds overweight. And it's because I wasn't taking the time and effort to really look at it and dial it in. So next week, we're going to have an episode dropping with Emmanuel, who's my personal trainer that I hired. And this is why I love talking about coaches too. And like, I've been sitting here trying to figure it out on my own for 12 years, and I was overweight, and my like, being fat has been my biggest insecurity my whole life. I'm okay with being short, but I've never been okay with like being overweight and pudgy and chubby and getting teased and all the shit. And like, I'm 35 years old, and it took me 35 years to hire a coach who's actually going to like help me get to where I want to go. Like, if you don't know how to do whatever it is you want to do, you got to hire a coach. So I'm sitting here hiring all these coaches for business and learning how to do sales and how to do real estate and mortgage and marketing and all this different shit. But like, the one thing that was my biggest insecurity, I wouldn't hire a coach to get help with health and fitness. So your health and fitness, again, if you don't have that, like, I know for sure now that I like look better, I feel better. I'm more confident. Like, So if you don't feel good, you're not going to show up in all the other areas of your life performing very well. Probably because number one, you don't feel good, but secondly, your body's literally doesn't have what it needs to perform at its best. So if you want to make money, you need to be in shape. If you want to be a good, let's say you have kids, you want to be a good, mom or dad, you need to be physically conditioned to play with your kids and do all the different shit, So those are 4 buckets. The 5th one is your spiritual and self-development. Like I thought I was doing self-development ever since I read that first book when I was 19 years old. And I love self-development. I love learning. I love growing. I invest a tremendous amount of resources and time to go learn and do self-development. But I was always doing it, like I said earlier, learning how to sell, learning how marketing, real estate, mindset, leadership, all this stuff that was business self-development, but it wasn't Michael self-development. It wasn't self-development. And you guys see I wear this hook all the time if you've been following me. And I got this kind of at the beginning of my spiritual journey. I got this in Kauai in 2018, about right around, it was in October of 2019, because that's when my brother got married. But I got this out there, and this was when I really first started doing my spiritual journey. I did my first ayahuasca ceremony. I've got a crystal right here. Like I'm really into all that stuff because it's a big part of my life. But going down that road, and now in the last year you hear me talking about God like I never talked about God before. I didn't grow up with a religious background or influence. I've never been to church with my family unless it was a funeral. So this has been kind of a self-discovery thing, and I'm super grateful that I had a blank canvas to start with instead of other people in scenarios where they have a religion or an ideology just rammed down their throat from the time they're a little kid. That really programs you and kind of fucks you up in the head because you have all these ideas of things that aren't really yours. And I guess that goes for all things, not just like picking out religion. But anyways, spiritual and self-development, like when I started, like I said earlier, because my self-worth and significance is tied to accomplishment and to production, that always ended up empty because it was like, okay, cool, I made $100,000, I'm still not happy. Well, fuck, I need to make $200,000. I just made 200 G's, I'm still not happy. I need to make 250, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, and you run it all the way up, and there's still an emptiness inside because I was, okay, well, I want a Rolex, and I got a Rolex, still not happy. It was cool, want a nice car, have a nice car. Nice car's awesome, and I love them. Don't get me wrong, I love material shit, but it's a short-term high. Like all these external things are only short-term highs. So when I started realizing that, like, oh, there's something else there, like what's going on? And I really went down the self-development path. And I went to a thing called Impact Trainings probably in 2016. And that was kind of my baseline. And then I went to Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within, and then Tony Robbins, Date with Destiny. And that kind of self-development, but gets you a little bit closer to spirituality. And then learned about meditating a little bit, started getting into crystals and rocks. And then I did an ayahuasca ceremony in November of 2019, almost 3 years ago to the date right now. And from there forward, everything's been different. And I just have a different outlook on spirituality and stuff. So, but what I can say and why I'm going on and on about the spiritual piece, and I'm not talking God and religion, I'm talking about your relationship with yourself, and your relationship you have with God, Buddha, whoever you want, your higher power, your higher self, universe, whatever you want to call it. But the relationship that you have with yourself, and that is what I'm talking about. And that is become the foundation of who I am in my life. And now there's not this missing link. Like I was always looking for the missing link, more information. And it was like, go to this seminar, go to this event, like, oh, go hire that coach, join this group, do that mastermind. And there was just always something that was still missing. And then when I tied into God, and then I got a life coach about 1.5 years ago, and I've had a few of them since then that I work with. But that was the missing link that I always had. So until you're good with yourself internally, nothing on the external is going to be good, and it's not going to be satisfying for very long. You'll have short dopamine hits, which are cool and awesome, but like you're still going to end up in the same spot with you and yourself. So spiritual and self-development's a big deal. I think it's the foundation of everything. And then the 6th bucket is experience or fun, hobbies. Like that's why we're working. That's why we're here on earth. Like we want to experience shit. So to run through them again, like this is what I call balance, but we're not going to use balance because I don't like that word. Money, family, relationships, health and fitness, spiritual and self-development, and then experience or fun. So like these are these 6 different buckets that I think we need in some capacity to find fulfillment. Because like I said, if you have the money but you don't have the relationships or the spiritual piece, then you're just going to be not fulfilled. Let's say, and then, I have this spiritual capitalist thing. Like I see people who are making a lot of money and they're super focused on business and money, but they don't take care of themselves and there's not the spiritual piece there or whatever. And then I know people who are extremely spiritual, grounded, just here, present all the time, but they've given up on the idea that they can have money and be financially successful too. And I think that part of what I'm doing in this whole spiritual capitalist thing is I want to weave those 2 worlds together because they actually complement each other a lot. But again, that comes down to us, like what's our programming and our mindset and our beliefs. So anyways, that's really what I'm going to focus in on this lifestyle podcast. So we're going to talk about those 6 different things. I'm going to start bringing guests on. We've got a couple of episodes recorded already, and now we're rolling out video. So I've got Emmanuel, my trainer, who we shot an awesome podcast, tons of value. And then I've got my good buddy Bridger, who's he's a psychiatrist. He's a doctor, works at the University of Utah. He works with the University of Utah football team. He played D1 football for the University of Utah as a safety, and he's got like a really different approach that you don't see a whole lot. So I'm real excited to have that, and I'm going to start bringing all my business buddies on. And really, the entire point of the Build a Lifestyle podcast is just that. Like, let's build a lifestyle, and it's like I said, it's not just about the money, guys. It's about everything else. I want to see people in this world taking control of their own life and going and building a lifestyle and saying, fuck all these rules and what we're told we can and can't do and all this stuff. When you start taking personal accountability and staying loyal to your potential, you can do and be whatever you want. And not to mention, we live in America. Like, if you can't do it here, then it's not going to be done. So anyways, guys, Build a Lifestyle podcast. I'm real excited about it. Rolling it out on video, bringing guests. I'd love to interact with you on social media too. Hit me up on Instagram at michael.burns. I'm on Facebook at Mr. Michael Burns. And I want to know what you want to talk about, like any and everything within this stuff. If you got good information, you want to be a guest, hit me up, whatever. But this is just a value add project for me, guys. Like, I'm not here to sell anyone anything. I'm just here to be an example and to bring some positivity, some light, and through, my experience of business and everything since I was 19 years old with a $2 million sales quota all the way up to today with what we're doing in business. I just want to add value. So with that, I appreciate you guys. If you like the show, please share it. That's the only way it's going to grow. So like the show, share the show, and we'll see you guys next week. Hey guys, thank you for taking the time to listen to the show. I appreciate all the love and support. As always, if you like the show, please leave me a review, share it with a friend. And if there's anything that I can assist you with, please reach out. I'm here to help. And until then, go build a lifestyle.